Good morning, gentlemen.
Morning.
Good morning.
It's Monday.
Best day of the week.
Yeah, best day of the week. That's like my favorite thing to hear every Monday morning. Best day of the week. How are you guys doing? How's your week and weekend?
Good. I'm looking forward to a semi-normal week. Last week, the majority of our company's in Texas, so people were battling power outages, no running water. Like I know some of our employees, one had it was like 40 degrees inside of his house.
Dang.
Another had so much snow on their apartment building that it started puncturing holes in it because of the weight, and the apartment was like 6 inches deep of water.
Wow.
So it was a crazy week. Definitely not expected, but hopefully this week will be back to normal-ish.
Yeah, I'm gonna say as much as I hate seeing it, it's just like the memes or things on Facebook where it's like I'm tired of living through historical events and all these things. It's like, and Texas is one of them. It's like, dang, that's not something that happens. So just kind of unexpected, like you said, not normal. How about you, Ross?
No, and yes, last week I spent quite some days in the office. Actually, you see the people now coming back, even though of course they are still advising not to. You see people wants to come back, right? You just want to work together. You just want to be out, and so this is what you can see: people taking it serious, they're taking a distance. But people just want to go back to the office. So it was nice to spend some time last week in the office. In the weekend, there was family time. We went to looking some alpacas, so something completely different. So that was quite fun. Had some nice family time and switch off a bit from the busy week which was coming.
Yeah. I want to say that this is going to be a different episode for everyone who's just now tuning in. We have a couple of people on the live stream, but we're not doing a Bidruption report or what's with the noise because we're going to focus on leadership in hospitality. And I think this is really fitting for, again, the week that we've had with unexpected loss in the industry due to Arne Sorenson, the CEO of Marriott International. And so I think when we found this news, it was like Tuesday last week. Wednesday, and we all decided that we wanted to dedicate this episode to leaders in the industry that we've looked up to Marriott as a whole for the just like the leadership aspect that they've had in the industry and the being like one of the focal points and kind of like the North Stars to what high standards were and are. And so I think I'm just excited to kind of jump into this one. It's a new type of segment or a different kind of style that we've normally haven't done. So we're starting with that. I guess we'll just lead into our. We're going to do like a minute of silence for Arne, and then jump into other leaders in the industry and focusing on what leadership looks like and why we look up to other leaders in the industry and so on and so forth. All right. So yeah, may he rest in peace. But go ahead and I'll let you guys jump into. We've all picked certain leaders that we wanted to focus on and to and to really just like highlight and kind of show like why we picked them and what they've done in the industry and all this other stuff. So I'll let you guys take the ropes from here.
Perfect. Well, personally, I always like entrepreneurial leaders, right? You see in some companies when the founder is still active, I always really like it. So, for example, I like companies like, for example, Steve Kyle for TripAdvisor. He started the company. 20 years later, he's still active. He's CEO for the last 11 years. So I always like entrepreneurial leaders, actually. So somebody who starts actually the company, he's still active. That's why I choose as well an entrepreneur. I think it's a real entrepreneur. He started many business. I choose Richard Branson, actually, to mention leadership, which is in this case different. I think everybody knows his kind of different style. He's pretty extrovert, but still, what I really like about him is that he just he's hardworking, but he is this creativity, this kind of Elon Musk style. He just visionary. He just doing it. You see how many things he tried. It's a lot of failures he made as well, but he just never gave up. So if you look at the quotes he said, and if you're looking at the internet quotes of Branson, you see a long list. So he has a lot of quotes out there, and I like his motivational things, right? I see like, screw it, let's do it. It's like a quote of Richard Branson. Or entrepreneurship isn't a label, it's a lifestyle. So I really like those things, and of course it's also connected a bit to me, as of course I'm kind of a leader of the company, as it should be, but also of course it comes from the starting point. I know you don't want to start a company, the entrepreneurial spirit, and I do agree that a lot of things I think it's different when you are maybe a natural leader and this become into your roles and you're hopping from company to company. I think also when you're kind of leadership, but starting from entrepreneurial perspective, I think it's different, and I really like entrepreneurs actually who has this combination of leadership combined with entrepreneurship, and they're not afraid to take a risk. Another one what I like, one of his quotes is, if your dreams don't scare you, they're too small. I think I like it as well. So there's a lot of nice quotes, so that's why I want to mention that case, and I had to be in a travel one, so in that case I choose Mr. Sir Branson.
That's awesome. We got one for you, Mr. Golden. So go ahead.
Yeah, I guess first of all, with Arne, I think the cool thing after a passing is all the stories that come out, and you almost wish some of these stories come out while people are still living, right?
Yeah.
Kind of helps you understand who they are and the impacts they had on people. And it kind of sucks. You always have to wait till after someone passes before you hear a lot of them. Arne grew up, I think, part of a missionary, and they traveled all over the world. And that's where he kind of garnered his love of travel and ultimately led the largest hotel brand in the world. And I think those of us that are in travel are likely in travel for life. It's just part of who you are and what you've experienced and what you'd like others to experience. And I've had the chance of meeting Glenn Fogle a number of times. And one of the times was at Click in 2019. I was actually on a flight with him from New York to Amsterdam. But talked to him a little bit then, talked to him the next day at Click, and he had this t-shirt on that was a Mark Twain quote. And the Mark Twain quote was, "Travel is fatal to prejudice, bigotry, and narrow-mindedness." And in my experience of traveling many places through the years, travel opens up your mind. And it opens up your experiences. And one of the missions that Glenn Fogle has for Booking is that they truly believe that through experiencing the world, macro change can be implemented on a micro level. It can shift perspectives and tear down barriers. And it ties into this Mark Twain shirt he was wearing at Click. And I think leaders that understand the good and the value that travel brings know the importance of what they're doing. It's not just like a party for 20 somethings to go gallivant through Europe, right? It's people actually experiencing other cultures and getting to know how other people live and what their viewpoints are, and really opening up the minds of all those that travel. So Glenn Fogle is remarkably approachable. He's led the pandemic as good as one could, right? I mean, they've had to deal with a lot of layoffs, just like Expedia and Booking and many other, Marriott even. But in the end, I think all of travel will be back and stronger. And as long as we have leaders that truly believe in the mission of travel, I think we're in good hands.
Yeah. I'll just say, like, personally, in the beginning of all this, with Arne, like, so when all this began, like with the pandemic, I just got back from London, which we were there at the Shorties Award, or you weren't there, but that we were all part of this conference and everything else, and coming back and realizing like the overall seriousness of like what was going to happen over the next coming years, and the message that Arne brought to the forefront with, he was deeply sad. Like he was choked up in this press release video. Not only was he going through cancer and doing all these other things, but it was a true message of hope. And I think, good leaders that I've been able to look up to, whether they're in hospitality, travel, or not, have been able to, in uncertain times of fear, we had no idea, in the beginning of this, I had no idea how serious or how not serious this was. And to see a message of real hope and gratitude and humbleness for the industry was something that, I've never have seen, like in that sense of a high up CEO. Like Marriott International is no company that not many people don't know of. This is very well known, very well respected, and to have a message so true and well communicated, I think was truly inspiring, for at least for me. Like I just remember getting ready to get called up for the National Guard stuff, and I was feeling uncertain about business and what things were going and what was happening, and that message that Arne gave was actually truly something I clinged on to. So I just wanted to say that as well, just because. Go ahead.
The video is what you see, and if you see him communicating with his team members, right, you see him like he's motivating, he just taking them on the journey. I think, of course, in our company, slightly smaller, right, we have close to 100 people, and I have to lead the company, and it is not easy. And when you're leading the company, you're the face of the company, all pressure's on yours. Yes, when there's success, it's nice. When there's not success or there's something wrong, you're also the face of the company. So I have a lot of respect for leaders, because all the pressure is also on their shoulders. And I think it's really important. I think, and that's what I try to do as well. And I can judge if I'm doing well. But I think it's important what you see also, for example, when you see the videos of Arne. You can see him really motivating the people, approachable. And I think it's so important that you're part of a team, right? Yes, you have to lead a company, but you're not like the type of boss. You're not the kind of manager, but you're doing it together. And that's what he tried to show to his team. Like, okay, let's do it together. We're making it successful. And also when things last year were less positive for him personally, but also in that case, also for, of course, for travel and restrictions and COVID and everything, is still keep informing and motivating people. And I think it's super important that every leader out there, in this case, when things goes wrong, they start and keep communicating with the team members and explaining and take them actually and keep motivating them, because it's so important in hard times. And then I try to do it if I'm doing it well, but I think it's so important to keep motivating the people, stay in contact with them. And sometimes it's a short thing by just sending a short message to for happy birthday. Sometimes just plan a call to ask people how you're doing. And I think it's so important, because if people realizing it's just most of people spending more hours doing work than, in that case, than spending with their family. So it's really important that also they see actually kind of work as kind of a family. You're doing it together, you have a goal, and sharing as a leader the goals of the company direction is so important. Take them actually also into the decisions. And they also always say the best leaders not tell people what to do, the people tell the leaders what they should do. So it's also opposite. I think it's really important you're open for it. And of course, everybody has his personal style. Many people know I'm not the biggest fan of Booking.com, so I'm not gonna just tell Michael G he picked the right choice. And I can't judge on Glenn Vogle's style of managing. So let's don't do that. I think everybody has his personal style. And the only thing what I see when I see Mr. Fogle on stage, he just for me, always looked like if you want to attack the host on the opposite, because his face expression not always look too friendly. But when you see him actually afterwards and see him walking around, he just smiling is friendly. So maybe just his face expressions. But again, doesn't say much about leadership skills. A pretty good leader. I always prefer person like entrepreneur kind of leaders, but I think it's a personal approach, and I think that's fair that everybody has his personal styles. So
I like. Yeah. For me, after seeing Arne have that speech that you were talking about, Will, I think that day was when I started buying Marriott stock. Like, you just see a leader who cares deeply, like, it's in good hands, and they're going to be making thoughtful choices. And Michael, I'll push back on that. Like, Glenn is ridiculously approachable, surprisingly so, right? But he had COVID early on, like in March or April, right when all of it's getting really, really bad. And he was getting like thousands of emails a day from employees and partners and folks just asking how he's doing and wishing him well wishes. And he responded personally to every single one of them. Like, if that's not an approachable leader, I don't know what is. There's leaders of much smaller companies that wouldn't even respond to those. So, I think you are who you are in the darkest moments, and once things, the light starts to shining. It's easy to be great when the light's shining, but when the lights are off, it really shows who you are. And I think we'd be remiss to not bring up another very entrepreneurial guy who passed away this year as well, Anton Zilber. Who's started AutoHost as a result of having a management company that had a lot of fraud and a lot of guests that he didn't want staying in their units. So he built a guest screening and verification platform, and truly like a remarkable mind that was certainly lost all too early this year. I think he and I got a lot closer this spring and summer through all of the madness that we were putting up with. And, it was definitely unreal to hear that he had passed of a heart issue when he's my age with kids, my kids' age. Like,
very active. He was a very active person, like loved travel, loved nature, loved, biking and camping and being, with his family. That's the thing is, like, it was very shocking. Yeah. I'll just say, like, it was a true, like, honor and blessing to literally have him on the show, not on this one, but to have him on Slick Talk, and then to get to know him throughout that process I think that's like the coolest thing about our industry. And not saying like people don't have these opportunities or have these connections in other industries, but to be able to meet someone via a Zoom or a WhatsApp call or whatever, and to be able to connect and share stories and show personality, it's just something truly unique, I think. And to go off of Anton, like having his recording on Slick Talk, and like we were just the amount of energy the guy brought just to a computer screen,
he called me after your recording, and he was so excited and happy he was doing it and getting the word out. So and it was, I believe it was that weekend that he passed.
Yeah.
So that was was a tough one to swallow this summer.
I agree. Yeah, I remember our conversation very well. You and me afterwards, like I think we all felt pretty good about that episode. Like he's just got an incredible mission and a great community and backing behind him. And I think that's something that I know I will continue to look up to. I just knew him briefly and very shortly, but like just in that little amount of time, a great impact in my life. So I think we're all, yeah, that makes sense. But
I think all of us, and then I think it's important just to remember the people, right? And 2 years ago, somebody close to me passed away, and then when in young age, some friends passed away, and now it's 2 years ago that the mom of my wife passed away, completely unexpected. I think it's so important just to remind those people and enjoy every day. And you see a lot of people still complaining a lot, right, in the world, and I think that many people just try to enjoy every day because you don't know what's going to happen. You just said about your friend who just a few days before you spoke to him, and then before you know, he wasn't there anymore. So I think it's really important. And if we go looking back, for example, at quotes, and of course we just talk about leadership, I think one of the things that Branson's saying is about happiness, right? That happiness is a secret ingredient for successful businesses. But I think happiness in general is so important to enjoy every second when you're working and when you're just spending time with your family. I think all of us has to make sure they celebrate a happy life and be satisfied also, because I think people in general, sometimes they're complaining too much. And of course, last year is hard for everybody. It's a terrible year. But then it just to look at the people around you also has a positive. I spend more time with my family now. This is how it is. Try to accept sometimes how hard it is and just try to be happy.
Yeah, there's in my very first job right out of school, and I think most people hate their very first job, right? I was miserable. But a guy that was right there and miserable with me, at least in the role, just the happiest dude I'd ever met. His name was Mike Lash. And he said, and it's stuck with me forever, like happiness is a choice. Like happy people choose to be happy and miserable people choose to be miserable. Like everyone has bad things happen to them. Mike was actually shot in a home invasion, and the people shot at his wife and 6-month-old kid. But he survived and he chose to be happy, and he chose to use that as a mission to help inner city youth. And like, it's just a choice. You could have gone the exact opposite direction, right? Like you could be miserable after that. He's got a rod in his leg. He was literally a minute from dying and bleeding out, but like just chooses to be happy. So if things like that can happen, and you still have a good attitude, you know, it really, again, bad things happen to everybody. It's just how you handle it.
Yeah.
No, fully.
I think
it's so important again to share this happiness with others, but indeed just be happy, right? There's always you can complain about a lot of things, but there's a lot of beautiful things out there as well, and just to focus on the good things and positivity and happiness, right? And that's unfortunately sometimes people just, when they're happening, it's of course sometimes things can be hard. It's not always easy to smile every day, every second of the day, but at the end, just look at the things which you can appreciate, and there's a lot of things to be happy about. And even though this year again was maybe not the most easy year for many people, then try to still be happy with the things you can do and people which you have around you. So
and I know we've got a few minutes left, but to kind of put a bow on it all, like the past year, really at this point, it's been nearly 12 months, was pretty brutal. There's lockdowns extending until May in some countries, and you know, Biden says things might not change until 2022. Like, I think that's a bunch of crap, to be honest. I think we're very, very close to being in a good spot as a country in the US and then globally as well. Vaccines are happening. The numbers are falling exponentially. So I think it's sooner rather than later that we'll be able to have life resumed.
Agreed. Yeah. I think, to, like you said, put a bow on it. at the end of the day, leadership comes down to a lot of things, and we've had a lot of good leaders in the industry. And as we've had the struggle of the year that we call 2020 and leading into 2021, I think leadership and all these things are going to be super important to the recovery, and hopefully that's sooner than later, like you said, Mr. Golden. And I think we have a lot to learn from leaders. So I'm going to put it out to the audience, anybody listening on the replay or in the podcast version of this episode, if you have any good leadership stories or people that you looked up to in the past, we would love to hear them and apply them to Good Morning Hospitality and just our overall audience that we've had. It's been really cool to see people reach out and have more community. I think that's what all leaders want, right? Is to have a community and to build into something that they love. And I think hearing your guys' stories is really important for us as well. So please reach out. You can go ahead and find us on the website or just directly on any social media platform that you're watching on. But other than that, I think we good to go. We'll see you guys next week.
See you next week.